Good. Good.
Speaking of love, Electra really loves this guy, one Big Jay Okerson.
I heard that in the intro. She's very, very attracted to him, which is
Love
interesting.
that nail polish he wears. And
We like Big Jay Okerson. Casey Day lied about booking him on the show.
I did.
So he's a friend of the show. Casey told for anyone that doesn't know, Casey Day, for some reason, if I make fun of him, he always thinks I'm gonna be really mad at him. So he created this lie about booking Big Jay Okerson to soften the blow. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then a couple weeks later, I realized, oh, this was all a ruse.
no, he really did. He told me. He really did.
Don't just say I told you. That doesn't help me.
No. He put a wig and fingerless gloves on and pretended to be him while we discussed his schedule.
Mikey's a busy guy,
I understand.
Get back to us when he has time.
I'm sure Big J will be on this program any day now. I'm sure that was a real conversation that Casey Day had. But no, we like Big Jay Okerson here, and he's a fan of, I don't know about what we do. He probably doesn't know we exist, unlike what Casey Day says. However, he does like the idea of what we do. And he's always defending, whether it's the Dabbleverse or channels like Podcast Cringe or Too Lazy to Try. Big J is always out there defending those, which I appreciate from comedians, because last week we had his podcast partner, Louis J. Gomez, in the chat as we were talking about Louis calling all of this very gay, which I get to a degree. But I think there is, people obviously like it, and I think a lot of these podcasts cease to exist if people didn't care as much about them, which I think Big Jay Okerson understands. So he was on We Might Be Drunk with Sam Morril and Mark Normand, and right at the end of the podcast, he gets this conversation in, trying to teach them the ways of YouTube, I don't know, reaction shows.
Mm-hmm. This made me really like the guy.
Yeah.
I find all these things because I watch all of the podcast breakdown ones. I said this is my first time being here, but I know the set so well because you guys have a great podcast for the podcast Cringe and Comedy.
Oh, they love that shit.
Well, no, not even attacking you guys at all. Like, it's a good show for them to go at whoever the guest is, because they'll go, you could see Sam right here loses complete interest.
Really?
They go, Sam was trying to wrap the show up right there, and you can see he just got drug into it some more.
It is true. By the way, we talked about We Might Be Drunk 3 weeks ago. So maybe they do have a good format for that.
Half the time they always love going at Bert. Yeah. They always love going at Bert.
They love Bert.
So Bert's like, if you have Bert in your podcast, they're always going to be like,
oh, we did recently.
No. And it was great. You guys had a good time. I think it's a thing where it's like, but you can see it's like, Mark's over it. Sam doesn't want to talk about this conversation. Like, they're breaking it. They also have no idea what people's genuine relationships are and shit. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he goes, Bert embarrassed himself. That came out an hour after the episode came out. These guys are fucking on it.
Embarrasses himself.
Embarrassing.
Yeah, rock bottom.
Right there.
Don't give him attention.
Yeah, you're right.
Already watched it.
Because I don't want them to shit in our
So I like that where Sam's like, don't give him attention, and their producer Salacuse is like, oh, I'm all in, baby. I already watched this. Don't worry about it. I will say, I think I get the instinct to be like, don't give him attention. I think maybe that's true for just just the vicious comments or people that are going over the line. I think if you watched a lot of these videos, I've always said Brendan Schaub would be done well by doing a breakdown of the people who break him down. Maybe Brendan wouldn't, because I don't know how good he'd be at that. I don't know if he would add particularly insightful commentary. But as you see with Jay here, Jay's been on the receiving end of a lot of this shit. We just talked about Red Bar. Red Bar has gone after Big Jay Okerson several times. And Big J and Soder went on the bonfire and talked about how funny it was. So I think I liked seeing Big J gets the idea that if you kind of embrace these guys, it shows everyone no one involved is all that bad. I think a mistake, it's hard to call it a mistake because I think he was just being honest. But Bert talked about the Legion of Skanks had him on to react to a Crack Amico song about him. And Bert was just like, oh, man, that really hurt my feelings. and he got upset about it. And that just lets everyone know, all right, well, we know how to get to you now. Yeah. If you just play around with it and have a good time. And as you hear Big J here, just don't take it too seriously. None of these people know you. At the end of the day, it's kind of funny when people speculate on your relationships. Oh, Craig's not on the show this week because Mike hates him. If you do shit like that, if I'm reading that, it's kind of funny because it comes from nowhere. It's just baseless. So have a little fun with it. Like Sam's instinct is to be like, no, silence them, run away. And Jay and Syracuse are just like, no, it's funny. What's the big deal?
I'm 18 minutes into it.
Oh, but I said this to.
They get
I did
crazy
this when I was on Bert's show too, though. I'm like, these people are fans.
Oh, okay.
Of course.
It's SportsCenter.
Right.
You never felt.
Yes.
You never felt bad when you'd watch SportsCenter all morning, and they were going like, "How is this guy getting a max contract with that sloppy, gross play?" We're like, "I know, you're right.
Yeah.
High paid,
right.
So that's
That's what I've been trying to say the whole time. It's the analogy I tried to make to Lewis last week, where it's like we're giving our opinions on all this stuff. If you're watching political commentary, you don't go like, well, you don't even really know this guy, you know? No, of course not. I'm interested in what they're putting out there, so I'm talking about it. You know, like they're putting it out there for public consumption. If you're putting it out there into the guise of like, okay, now give me feedback. We actually specifically request for it in the comments, but only good stuff. Like only talk about how great I am. That's very silly. I will say, like, I try to be more. I thought about doing a segment this week. It just didn't. There were no good clips that could convey what I enjoyed about it. But Rick Glassman did an episode where it seems like Paul Rudd is supposed to be on the podcast. Like the thumbnail suggests Paul Rudd is the guest. But you learn early on there was a booking issue and Paul Rudd isn't on. So he just talks to his assistant. And then over the course of I realized it right away, but I read some of the comments. Some people didn't get it till like 20 minutes in or something. But you realize who the guest is, and it's kind of a very funny reveal. And he just commits to the bit for the full hour. So I want there's sometimes shows like that we talk. Or Matan Evan is a guy that we've talked about before. Like sometimes I do talk about shit that I like. So I try not to be negative all the time with it. But like the negative stuff is often more interesting to break down and talk about. So fun to do. But like Jay has the perfect analogy where you're never watching SportsCenter going like, how dare these guys? They don't even know LeBron. You know, like why would they say that about him?
And then there's some guys that are just confusing, like G.D. Fenderson, where you have no opinion. You just watch it in awe and wonder.
GD was in our comments. I've been breaking news. Do we have a breaking news sound?
Electra, get the breaking news sound.
No, it's fine.
Go ahead.
It's not worth it. I've been invited on Coffee with the Dog.
Woo!
Who's the dog? Is that GD?
No. It's Mind Dog. So I guess I'll be going on to confront GD Fenderson.
Oh,
no.
The two of you are going to be on together.
I guess so. I think GD's always on. So I guess so, yeah. I said I can't do it this week, but probably next week I'll be able to.
We need to send you with a series of screenshots of all the closed caption from the video and just be like, explain, everyone, go.
I'm not mad. I think this guy thinks I'm like mad at GD or going to confront him. I'm a fan, but
we're just confused fans.
That is one to Jay's point here. That is one thing I always try to be aware of, even with guys that are taxing, like Steel Toe or Stuttering John or whoever. Ultimately, I'm a fan. I'm bummed that Stuttering John doesn't do shows anymore. Like it's a void in my entertainment life. So I'm ultimately kind of bummed out about that. So in a way, I am fans of these guys, even the ones that frustrate.
Yeah, Joey C's summer off is hurting me in the entertainment, man.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And no one else
consuming all of our shit.
Well, we don't have a TMZ or anything, so this is where people get their drama, their comedy drama.
Some people go listen, like anything, people go too far, and there's people who are assholes about it. But I mean, most of them are like a fan breaking down. 'Cause even the ones that go at Bert, like one of the guys who goes at Bert a lot, is pretty like even keeled in the whole thing, and he'll be like, "I've been starting to like Bert's things a little more lately." He's like, he's getting into the, it's like they don't mean anything, but they're just making content.
Yeah, I mean, I've shit on.
I think most of them don't.
And I'll say, like, I don't think anyone ever starts out expecting you to watch it. Like, it's weird for me. Like, last week we were talking about Luis J. Gomez, and he was in the comments refuting what we said. You're like, holy shit. You don't think not that, like, you're saying things. I try not to say things I wouldn't say to the people. But, like, you're not expecting them to be like, hey, that's not true. You know, and then like ultimately when it is, like we had Tom Myers on to talk about the stuff that we talked about, and a friendship blossoms. You know, you become best friends with the guy.
Best friends.
Best friends.
Oh no.
Yeah, I guess.
I think
but,
most. I think most.
But we're so sensitive. I think they forget that we like watch everything and no one
Mark,
talks about it.
don't tell them that. They're bloodthirsty monsters. We're all right, but the rest of them.
That's an inside thought, Mark.
You can't tell them that, Mark. Well, luckily, I think most of them like Mark Norman, so I think he's safe. But
here's the bullseye, guys, right here in the middle, right where my heart is. The things I care about. Here are they on a list. Get them. Jesus.
At that.
Right.
We have to dish it and take it. Like,
I guess so.
There comes to a point where you start moving up and, like, first of all, internally, you stop taking it.
Yeah.
Because you're moving up the ranks, so you're the disher only. Do you know what I mean? So
and the hope is that you don't get busy enough to not look.
You don't have a person higher up than you kind of, being like, shut up with your stupid shirt and act and all that kind of stuff anymore. You know what I mean? And like, we still need some of that.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And it's not like no comedians have ever talked about people they don't know. You know what I mean? That's always the argument I hear is like, you don't even know me. Why are you commenting on my life, you loser? It's like, well, you don't know Kanye West, but you're free to talk about him because he's in the news. Like, this is all stuff in our version of the news. It's the stuff we consume every week, the stuff we're interested in. So I think Big J does a good job of breaking that down to these guys where they're kind of like, oh, they're vicious monsters. And Jay's like, no, they're fans. This is how they consume the podcast. And as he said, in every fan base has people. If you go on their Reddit or whatever, you'll see people where it's like, Jesus, why do you even watch if you hate the show so much? That's a level I don't understand, where they're just complaining about the show constantly. But if you watch like Podcast Cringe or channels like that, Too Lazy to Try, even like Joke World is always positive. And I don't think that's like good either. You know what I mean? Like, if you watch Joke World, you're like, well, he's never going to be honest about anyone because he wants to have these guys on. He likes that he can interview Adam Ray and Tom Segura, so he's never going to make fun of them. So that's the opposite of that, where you're only saying positive shit. If you watch like Podcast Cringe, it's like he's breaking it down and analyzing it and making its own content out of that for someone that wouldn't watch the whole episode of Two Bears, One Cave. Just to use this as the example, some of you might not have watched the whole episode of We Might Be Drunk. Obviously, they have a wildly bigger audience than this. So it's not like they need help promoting. But like, you guys might not have gotten to the end of We Might Be Drunk, but this, I think, is interesting to you. So we're talking about it and breaking it down. And Big J gets that. It puts it perfectly.
I think Sam agrees too. He's basically saying, I'd stare at all the stuff about me, but I hope to get too busy to be able to. So that's sort of the same thing,
Right.
Of the thing, it can't just be everybody.
But it's better when it comes from a friend. It comes from a place of like love than just a stranger who's like, "Fuck you."
Yeah, and they put editing time and they put clips together. It's like
so funny.
Must have taken 10
days. But you see comics who like didn't come up with a comedian friend group, and they do shit sometimes. Where I'm like, oh, you need a friend to tell you not to do that shit.
Oh, totally.
So you need your comedy friends to keep it real with you.
And that's what we are, Sam. We're just your best friends, guiding you so that you don't make the same mistakes again. When I heard that, I to your point, it makes you like and appreciate Big J, and I think he does get. I don't think he always listens to the notes. For like we talked about the Matt and Shane basketball saga, and I think to this day, Big J doesn't get why that was embarrassing. So he doesn't always listen. But I do think he gets it, and I thought that was such a great analogy. It's something I've been trying to say for months now. We've been talking about this, and Big J put it better than I've been able to. So I thought it was worth playing.
Go to blindmike.net for everything Blind Mike. Look at me. I did it. Kragers did it.